Eat a cookie monster. He to this pussy, call me monster. Real wet, I said slurp it like it's pasta. They get nervous when it's Nikki on a roster. Somebody usher this nigga into a clinic. My flow still sick, I ain't talking the pandemic. I write my own lyrics.
This is the creepy story about the hike. One day, 3 friends went for a hike. They were very close friends and hung out every day. They went on a trail not too far from their neighborhood. Around 45 minutes in, one of the friends said he had to go back home. The other 2 were very upset, but continued without him anyway. As the sun was setting and getting dark, the 2 friends decided to go back home, when suddenly, they got a weird feeling that somebody was watching them. They began to worry and they picked up their pace. They heard footsteps and leaves crackling behind them. Now they started to run. The one boy then tripped and fell, and when his friend was helping him up, they saw a person with a mask standing behind them with a knife. The person then grabbed the friend who was on the ground and stabbed him countless times. The other boy didn't know what to do. Then suddenly, the person with the mask jumped at him and slit his throat. While he was bleeding out on the ground, the person took off the mask and revealed his face. It was their friend. This is a creepy story about Smiley Face. One night a girl was at a nightclub with her friends. She was drinking and dancing all night. Her and her friends decided to leave around 3 in the morning. She said goodbye to her friends and started to go home. She couldn't get a taxi, so she walked home. On the way home, she had to pass a park. It was very dark. All she could hear was her shoes clacking against the road. She thought she saw somebody moving in the bushes, so she quickened her pace. Suddenly, a man behind a bush jumped out and blocked her path. His face was hideous. The girl tried to run, but he cornered her and grabbed her arms. The girl was screaming for her life and was begging him to let her go, but the man's deformed face twisted into a creepy grin. The man said, "Do you want death or smiley face?" She cried out, "Please just let me go." Then the man said death or smiley face again. The girl didn't know what he meant, so she replied smiley face. Then the man pulled out a knife and sliced the girl's corners of her mouth all the way up to her ears. Now she had the same deformed smile as the man.
This is why you should always lock your doors at night. So one night I went to let my dog back inside and it was pitch black, so I immediately locked the door. After I locked the door handle was moving like someone was trying to get inside. It was pretty dark outside, but I saw an outline of a tall man standing at the door. So I told my dad, and he ran outside and chased him down the road. We still don't know who this guy is to this day.
Most Scary Urban Legends, Part 10. This is Tiki Tiki. She was a girl who fell under a train, and the train cut her in half. Now she roams around using her arms, looking for her next victim. Every time she moves, she makes a tiki tiki sound. She cuts people in half by using a saw or a scythe to make them look like her. If she spotted you or you saw her, she will immediately come after you. She is super fast and quick, and there is no way of getting away from her. She is compared to Kuchisaki Onna because you cannot escape or defeat either one of them.
Wait, stop scrolling please, alright? 99% of the people who see this video don't actually know what's going on. I'm about to explain it to you, alright? So, as you can see, there's a blue looking track kind of in the shape of like a house, alright? And there's a red dot. Once the red dot gets to the very end of the track, share this with your friends to mess with them. I see you.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.
This is the creepy story about the dad. There was a little girl named Leah who always had nightmares every night. She always woke up sweating and scared. One night she was sleeping and she was having a nightmare. It was about a group of 5 men trying to chase her down and kill her. She then woke up screaming and sweating like never before. Her dad then heard her screaming, and he then came into her room. Leah then stared at him with a surprised face. He then sat on her bed and said, "What's wrong, sweetie? Is everything okay?" Leah was speechless and confused. Her dad then said, "It's okay, everyone has nightmares." Leah then let out a terrifying scream. She jumped out of bed and couldn't believe her dad was here, because her dad died in a car crash 6 months ago. This is a scary story about Halloween candy. On Halloween night, there was a woman giving out candy all night. As it grew darker and darker, things began to calm down. When it seemed like nobody else was going to be coming, the woman went inside and called it a night. She was just about to turn off the porch light when somebody knocked on the door. She thought it was too late for children to still be out, but she grabbed a handful of candy and opened the door. There were 2 children standing on the porch, but they weren't wearing any costumes. They were the strangest children she had ever seen. Their skin was waxy and ghostly white, and their eyes were completely black, and their teeth were too big to fit in their mouth. The confused woman then said, "What are you guys supposed to be, monsters?" "No," said the children. "Tonight we are dressed as humans." A chill ran down the woman's spine as she shut the door. The children began to bang on the door and scream. The woman then looked through the peephole, but the children were gone, and the road was completely empty. The woman moved houses and never took part in Halloween ever again. This is a scary story about the family. There was a woman who loved cooking for her family. Every day for the past 2 weeks, she cooked 3 meals a day every day. Her husband, daughter, and son never said a word because it was so good. She always made sure they were dressed well whenever she cooked for them, or whenever they watched TV together. Whenever they made her mad, she put them in their spots and they stayed there for hours, until she was ready for them again. One day the woman was reading the newspaper, and the headline was, "Father, son, and daughter still missing after 2 weeks." The woman chuckled to herself and looked up at her family. She then said, "Who wants more food?" Nobody answered. They just stared straight ahead motionless. This is the scary story about the keys. There was a young boy named James who was walking around at a park. It was a beautiful day and he was enjoying the sun. When James was about to get in his car, he realized he did not have his keys on him. Suddenly, an elderly man came up to him and said, "Hey kid, you dropped these." James was confused on how this man had his keys, but he thought nothing of it. He said, "Thanks, sir," and grabbed the keys. Suddenly, James began to feel lightheaded, and he then passed out. When James woke up, he was in the back seat of the old man's car. He then realized neither his hands or feet were tied. The old man then noticed he was awake and tried to put a rag over his face. But James got out of the way and punched the old man multiple times and jumped out of the car. He then ran to the nearest house and made them call the police. When the police caught the man, it turned out the old man who kidnapped James was a serial killer who killed over 50 people. And James was about to be another one on his list. This is the creepy story about the blue door. There was a young boy bored sitting at home, and he decided to go for a walk around his house. But before he left, his father said, "Walk where you want, but do not open the blue door." The boy was walking around the house. He was opening and closing doors when he came across the blue door. He looked at it for a few seconds and then refused to open it, listening to his father. The next day, the boy was walking around his house again when he came to the blue door, but this time he heard screaming coming from it. Temptations got the better of him, and he decided to open the door. When he opened the blue door, he saw multiple people tied up, trying to scream for help. He immediately closed the door and ran away. The next day, the young boy decided that he was going to try and help them. He then went back to the blue door, and this time when he opened it, his heart stopped. His dad was standing inside holding an axe. "I warned you about the door," screamed his father, as he cut his son into little pieces.
This is the creepy story of Lisa. There was a little girl who had an imaginary friend named Lisa. The girl loved to draw and frequently made crude drawings. The girl was so obsessed with Lisa that she even brought her to school for show and tell. The girl's teacher couldn't see Lisa, so she got angry. The next day, the girl's teacher didn't make it to school, and she never came back. Lisa's father got angry with her and told her that Lisa was stupid and fake. Shortly after, her father disappeared. Her mother noticed a drawing saying her teacher and her father are sleeping under the sandbox and will never come back. Each drawing was 100% real, and her father and teacher are still missing to this day.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me, I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know. know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.